So today I thought I'd show you what I feed all of my pets. I can't believe in all of my years on YouTube, I have not actually done this video yet. So let's start off with a certain someone. So Hubble has almost always been fed on some sort of canned wet food. We've tried foods that are supposed to be better for him, and he's always been really picky and not touched them. Foods that are maybe not as good for him, he likes them, but it doesn't really agree with him. So feeding him over the years has been a bit of a struggle. I'm sure if you have cats, you know what it's like. Recently, I've been wanting to change him into a different food because his poop has absolutely stank. If he went to the toilet when I was not in the house to clean it straight away, you would open the front door and the smell would just hit you. It was awful. His stomach issues were that bad that I actually had to give him a sanitary shave because it was getting that messy. His behaviour was also getting pretty bad. He would eat the food I was giving him, he would gain weight on that food, but just 30 minutes after feeding him, he would be screaming for more food, he would be stealing the dog food, he would literally take food right out of River's mouth when she was eating, he would try and break into her crate if I hid the food in there, if I shut him out to feed her. He was screaming because he just felt so hungry, even after he just had a meal. So that has not been fun for any of us to have to live with, least of all him, because there's nothing worse than having a bad stomach and something about the food was just not agreeing with him, even though I was trying to give him the best quality canned food there was. It was just giving him such an upset stomach. So we were really needing a change, and that is where Catkin comes in. He has been eating this for the past couple of weeks and I'm already seeing improvements, and I'm really happy to be working with them on this video. So the first thing I noticed about this food is there's not really a strong smell to it, and usually no smell going in means there's no smell going out, and so far that has proved true because since feeding this he has not had diarrhea, his poop doesn't stink. It's just been a much nicer experience. And that is because Catkin is made from 100% fresh meat. It's gently cooked, it's vet formulated, it's served straight from the fridge, unlike processed cat foods that have a very, very long shelf life, that have preservatives in them to be stored in the cupboard. Obviously, the fact that this seems to have fixed his stinky poops is making my life better, but it's so much kinder on his digestive system as well. So yeah, this is what he eats, and he's trying to eat this right now, but this is formulated for him. It takes into account his weight, his energy levels, and so far he's been loving all of the recipes he's tried. He has not been picky about any of them, and that's really good because we can rotate the different recipes. So for example, he can have chicken for breakfast and then duck in the evening. He has tried a few of their different recipes now and he has loved every single one. So if you would like to try Catkin with your cats, I have got a huge discount for you. You can use my code EMI50 and that will get you 50% off your first trial box of Catkin. You can also scan the QR code on screen, and I'll also leave a link to Catkin's website in the description. You've been waiting so patiently. Would you like some breakfast? Yeah. River has always been a bit of a pain when it comes to food time for the opposite reasons. I've always tried to give her set meal times, but sometimes she doesn't finish it and she just wants to pick at it throughout the day, which is why Hubble ends up trying to steal it so much, because she's just not that bothered about eating an entire meal all in one go. So she is mostly fed on Millie's Wolfheart kibble. She is on a higher fibre one they do because she has struggled in the past with her anal glands. She just has to have a lot of fibre in her food. Depending on the day, she does also get some wet food. This is either something like Harrington's or Skinner's. This is mostly just as enrichment to put onto a licky mat or something. She of course does get lots of treats. Our go-to for something to keep her busy is things like Knorr natural dog treats, pizzles, things like that. But when it comes to training, she does get a lot of just human food for that. Things like chicken or cheese or pepper. She really likes pepper, so whatever we're eating that is dog friendly, she does get a fair amount of that as well. Don't you? Yes. Good job. So with River's food, I don't really follow any specific guideline or anything. I just kind of know how much she will eat in a day and that she is a good weight. So she is going to have a couple of scoops of biscuit. And then I do have a bunch of different toppers that I vary which ones I put on. So just putting on some salmon oil. And then she also has the You Move joint care for adult dogs. It's so funny, I bought this slow feeder bowl before I got her, before I knew her, and she is the last dog that needs a slow feeder. So because Hubble is an indoor cat, it does mean I have to put more effort into making sure he's not bored. So I do have a variety of different like puzzle toys, foraging toys for him that I'll just pop a couple of treats into just to keep him entertained and keep his brain busy. So the chinchillas are herbivores, and because of this they do have a pretty bland basic diet. Most of their diet should consist of hay, and they have this Timothy hay blend by Haybox, and they have constant access to this in their cage at all times. They are also fed pellets once a day, and for this I just use the Science Selective balanced chinchilla food. Because they do have quite sensitive digestive systems, they can't have treats very often, and what they can have has to be quite limited. So there's only a couple of things I give them as a treat. Things like different types of hay, like orchard hay. I've got smaller packets of this. They can have some types of herbs and flowers, so sometimes they'll get those, and very occasionally one of the treats in their treat jar. So the chinchillas get a scoop of their pellets once a day, every single day, and I will sometimes mix this up. I do give this to them in a bowl, but I'll sometimes sprinkle some herbs or flowers on the top just to make it a little bit more interesting. Is where most of their hay is in their hay rack, and I also give them a loose pile of hay on the base of their cage as well. then all of their treats are in these jars up here. They don't get treats very often. Some of them they can have more often than others. Things like the dandelion roots they can have a lot more often, and things like goji berries, things that are a lot sweeter, they have these maybe once a month, but on average they only have a treat maybe once a week or so, not very often at all. So the mice are omnivores and they have a homemade mix to reflect that. This is based on the Shunammite diet, just tweaked a little bit for mice, and you can find information online of how to make your own mix, or you can buy pre-made mixes from places like Rat Rations. So this is what they are fed pretty much every single day. I do also have a tub of the Science Selective mouse nuggets. These are nutritionally complete, but they are very boring for them, so sometimes I will add these in and offer these as well, but for the most part they do get fed their mix. In terms of treats, they do have a few different types of treats. Treats in jars like this, like mealworms and pea flakes, also things like malt paste, and just whatever we're eating that is mouse safe. Sometimes a couple of times a week they will get a tiny portion of that as well, so fresh foods like pasta and rice and vegetables on a little plate. They do also get given a variety of sprays in their enclosure. They don't have constant access to these. I'll only put them in maybe once a week, a couple of times a week, and I do limit how many I give them because some types can be very fattening to mice, but these are really good for promoting natural behaviours and making them forage for their food like they would in the wild. So the mice get around 5 grams of food each every single day, and their mix is scattered around the enclosure to promote foraging behaviour and make it more enriching for them. So I have got 5 mice in this enclosure, so they'll be getting roughly around this much, and I'm literally just going to scatter this everywhere in there. I do also have another separate group of mice that are currently in instructions, and there is 5 of them in that group as well, so they will be getting roughly around the same amount. When I do give them fresher foods like pasta or rice or vegetables, I do serve that to them in a bowl, just because these do have a tendency to stick to the bedding and it is a lot messier, so I do give that to them in a bowl, although it does not stay in the bowl for long. So that is how I feed the pets in this room. I do also have a leopard gecko called Orbit, and she lives in our office, so obviously she needs to eat too. So let's go and feed her. So Orbit is an insectivore, which means her diet consists of eating live insects. She mostly eats dubia roaches. She's not a massive fan of crickets, which is so valid because I can't stand them either. And occasionally she will get things like mealworms or waxworms, but only really as a treat. It does also mean that she doesn't get fed every single day like the rest of my pets. She does only get fed a couple of times a week as an adult leopard gecko. So it's really important to feed the feeder insects before giving them to your gecko. So they are fed on things like vegetables, they've got them in their containers, and then also this as well, which is called Beastie Feast. They're then dusted in these powders from Arcadia. I follow the schedule they have on their website, but today her food is going to be dusted in this one. So she has always been tongue fed. She's not the fastest gecko, and she does have a tendency to get things like leaves stuck in her mouth, so it's best if I just feed her with the tongs. But I do try to mix it up and make it more interesting by moving the insects around the enclosure with the tongs, just to get her to exercise a bit and actually chase her food in a safe way. So I'm gonna try and do that with this one. You're too quick for me. And then she's not had a waxworm in ages, so I'm gonna give her one as a treat. What's this? As well as feeding her a couple of times a week, she does have a pot in her enclosure of calcium pro-magnesium by Arcadia at all times, so she can lick that if she wants to, just to make sure she's getting enough calcium. That's my finger. You can't eat my finger. Careful. So that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Don't forget to check out Catkin in my description and use my code EMI50 for 50% off your first trial box of Catkin food for your cats. Let me know in the comments if you do try it. I was really surprised that Hubble took to it straight away and he has been loving it since. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!